We're going to wait just a minute. As Councilmember Michael, I think he's trying to join us. Yeah. We'll give it another minute. We have Councilor Michael, who is out of town, is trying to join us remotely. Okay, I think we can go ahead and hopefully Councilor Michael join us. So there she is. All right, want to welcome everyone. This is the City of Cottonwood Heights. This is our business meeting, Tuesday, July 20th, 2021. My name is Mayor Peterson. I'll be conducting the meeting this evening. And we want to excuse Council Member Bracken, who is traveling, and we do have Councilor Michael, who is joining us remotely. So appreciate their efforts in everyone's attendance tonight. We'll now begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll ask Councilor Bruce if she'll lead us in that pledge. Thank you, Councilmember Bruce. Next item on our agenda is something we always enjoy doing when we can see those who are dedicated to our city and have opportunities to advance their professional career. And so we have a sergeant's promotional announcement tonight for someone who has been involved with our city for many years, very familiar face. That's our new sergeant, Sergeant Ken Etchell. So Chief Russo, will have you do that introduction.
Thank you, and I'm pleased for the opportunity. I'll ask Sergeant Etchell to join me, and let me tell you a little bit about him. He recently was or competed in a promotional examination set forth by the department. I believe we had 16 or 17 candidates. The process consisted of a written exam, a presentation, which was on police responding, or the police response in the new and changing world. What do we need to do different? What can we do different? What have we heard? What have we learned? And they were responsible for presenting to a panel of both internal evaluators and external evaluators. We even invited civilians from the community to join us. He then had to go through some oral interviews. And out of that process, he emerged as the #1 candidate. So we were pleased to promote him to sergeant, which is the first line supervisor in the organization. It's a pivotal position because they set the culture for success of the department. They control, as a first line supervisor, they mentor, they help control the ethics, policy adherence, and in such areas as use of force and community relations. Ken has 24 years of law enforcement, and he's been with Cottonwood Heights Police Department since our start in 2008. I do understand that there's some question at your home with his new promotion to sergeant as to who is actually outranking between him and his wife, Ann Etchell, whom you know. Although I would take a poll from the council because
No, we know who it is. So
I do believe. Okay, I do.
We know who's really in
believe
charge.
Mrs. Etchell still outranks him irrespective of his promotion. You may or may not know some of this, but let me share it with you. Ken is recognized as a master canine trainer. He's not just a trainer of canines, he trains the trainers. In fact, he was recognized by the State Department for his international work with instruction to canine trainers from emerging countries, or such as I believe it was in Iraq. He trained their military and their canine handlers, and we received recognition from the State Department in his behalf. He has a young canine team. As you know, we lost a couple of our young or older, more experienced handlers and dogs. And so we started a new team. He's advanced that team, even though they're so young, and competed in the UPOA statewide competition and took second in that, which is very impressive. Although we expect him to take first place next year as the dogs mature and he has a chance to train them some more. He's also had the opportunity and is recognized in work in the civilian field. He's traveled the nation working high profile political and sporting events. He's a leader in explosive and controlled substance detection. So he searches venues. Without naming names, he's searched the jets of very high profile people before they get on the jets for explosive devices. So if you mention Ken Etchell's name in the industry, many people, not just locally, but around the country, would recognize his name. And I'm pleased to introduce Ken Etchell as newest sergeant to Cottonwood Heights Police Department. So thank you.
Thank you, Robbie. And Ken, want to congratulate you and ask you and put you on the spot and share with us why you've obviously had many opportunities to serve and take positions at other municipalities, and obviously you've worked outside the city for a little while. Tell us why you chose to work Cottonwood Heights. Or is it just because of your wife?
Yeah, I just take directions from her. She tells me where to go. No, I love the community. I love the administration and the city leaders. Place I want to be. Another place.
Well, thank you and congratulations. We appreciate your service and the service of your fellow officers. I know you got a few of them here supporting you tonight, so we appreciate all you do during these challenging times. So thank you and congratulations. And do you want to say anything? No. All right. All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thanks.
All right. Next item on our agenda is the citizen comment portion of tonight's meeting. We have a couple comments cards of people who would like to comment. We'll begin with ask David Berry, come on up again. Want to remind the audience that we normally don't get into a dialogue with public comments, but we take notes and we will follow up and be back in contact with you if that's helpful and necessary. And so we encourage the comments to be civil and hopefully proactive in the passion of any item you want to discuss. So is David here? Well, let's hold on a minute. And Jenny, you want to come up? Come on up. Is it Nazaro?
Nazaro, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I love it.
So my name is Jenny Nazaro, and I'm here today to ask that you work with local schools and health departments to enact a school mask mandate for this year. With COVID cases increasing in our area higher than the start of last school year, it seems crazy to send kids back to school without masks, especially when many are ineligible to be vaccinated. Masks save lives, keep schools open, and prevent missed days due to quarantines. The CDC's guidance states that masks should be worn by all unvaccinated individuals over the age of 2 in schools. The Academy of Pediatrics states that masks should be worn by all individuals at school, vaccinated or not. We should not ignore the advice of the CDC and medical and health professionals. As a mother of 2 elementary age children who are ineligible to be vaccinated, I worry about their safety attending school without masks during this pandemic. Just as they have a right not to be bullied or shot at school, they have a right to attend school without fear of getting sick with a deadly virus. I should not have to choose between sending my kids to school for their best education, but having a risk of catching COVID, or keeping them home to learn in a less optimal environment and maybe falling behind. It benefits everyone to keep cases low, and without masks in schools, cases will soar this year. The risk is that even more dangerous variants could result, making our vaccinations ineffective. I know I have the right to send my kids to school with masks, and I will, but this does not fully protect them from getting COVID if other people are not masked. We now know that 1/3 of children infected with COVID will have long-term symptoms. We don't know how this virus could affect them long in the future. I'm a veterinarian, and I deal with feline coronavirus in practice called FIP. Although this coronavirus is a different strain than COVID-19, it has very severe consequences for cats. They are infected as young kittens with mild respiratory disease like a cold, much like the way children are infected with COVID. But then years later, these cats suffer a painful and certain death with fluid accumulation in their chest and in their abdomen. Just as chickenpox unfortunately returns as shingles years later, there can be devastating consequences years after being infected by viruses. We cannot will or wish the end of the pandemic. We have to remain vigilant to protect ourselves and each other until the pandemic is over. Please don't send the message to us parents that everything should be back to normal and our unvaccinated children are safe at school, because they are not. For the safety of my kids, other students, and the rest of the community, please take the advice of the health professionals and implement a mask mandate for schools this year. Thank you.
Jenny, thank you very much. And I have to comment, and normally we don't, but I read an article this morning, 83% of all the new COVID cases are the variant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is scary.
And it's scary. And someone who's been vaccinated and watched my wife go through 3 horrendous weeks with COVID and still has some, it's a serious issue. I will tell you that we do have regular meetings with the school board. Obviously, we have no authority over them, and we're kind of under the county health department mandate, but we definitely have an opportunity to communicate with them some of those concerns and ask the question about masks. And
Thank you.
we'll do that in our next meeting. So thank you
very
for
much.
taking the time and coming out.
Yeah.
Appreciate it
Thank you.
so much. Runar? Yeah. Welcome back. Yeah. That's great. We love it.
Yeah, my name is Runar Bowman. I live in Cottonwood Heights and I'm in District 3 resident. I was here, I think it was last week, about mentioning 2300 East right out here, the hill being poorly surfaced. And I'd like to continue on that discussion, only a smaller portion of that road, and it's referring to the area between Fort Union Boulevard and 7120 South, which is the first residential turn in, if you will, if you're heading north on 2300. It comes up pretty fast. It's just a small stretch of road. People in my area, including myself, my wife, and daughter, we will cross that street at 2300 and 7120 to go to Dollar Store, for example, or whatever businesses in that area that's still around. And it's kind of sketchy. It's a high-speed road, even though it's maybe not supposed to be. People come down that hill at a high rate of speed, and they're also coming up the road from Fort Union at a high rate of speed. My concern is, the issue of getting across that street. And currently there is no crosswalk there. And there is a break in the double yellow at that point. To me, it seemed it would be a logical thing maybe to install a crosswalk, maybe at that point, so residents can not have to kind of hoof it across the street to avoid cars, because they do, come at a high rate of speed. So that was one of my concerns, is possibly a crosswalk at that point where there's a natural break in the double yellow.
Yeah, there used to be one at 6710.
Oh,
years ago, but yeah.
okay.
But anyway, we'll note that Ben and the city engineer will
Sure.
kind of do a quick review of what you're referring to, and we'll be back in contact, and we have your information here and can let you know what.
Okay.
Needs to-
And then just real quick along those same lines is further back toward Fort Union, there's 2 entrances to that shopping plaza, one right by the Walgreens and one a little bit further south, and it's a double yellow. And I understand that some cities don't they allow for people to cross double yellows on a left-hand turn into a property. And if that's the case, then I just wonder why we have a double yellow there, because it kind of sends a mixed message. Generally speaking, you don't cross a double yellow, but in this case, people are doing it with regularity. The first entrance by Walgreens is just a short way up from the intersection, and people who are in queue to turn left onto Wasatch are oftentimes blocking that entrance, and people will stop there waiting to turn left into Walgreens, causing motorists coming up from behind to have to go around them. And it's just not a good situation. And I'm just wondering if the city engineers would maybe take a look at that area and say, how do we mitigate this in terms of maybe making it clear what people can and can't do or should and shouldn't do? Just an observation.
Appreciate the feedback, and striping is something they're always
Sure.
working on. So
Also, I listened in on the discussion about the general, I think it's the Parks, Trails and Open Space Master Plan. I think
open
it's really
space, yeah.
cool. I'm really excited about it. I think you have some great people working on it. I think it's wonderful. I just was thinking, and this is just an observation again, but if you were to go north across Fort Union Boulevard, past the La Cancina restaurant on the right-hand side, there's an open space there that just fenced off, and it used to have a big pile of dirt in it,
Mhm.
which has since gone away, but now it's just a big
Mhm.
area that's sitting. I don't know if the city owns that.
I wish we did. We tried once.
Okay,
It's owned by the apartments right there. Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
never mind then.
That almost became City Hall once. We
Oh,
tried. but-
Okay. And just lastly, maybe in your discussion later today, I think it's resolution 5.1, Zion's public finance,
Mhm.
hiring them as advisor. I don't really have an issue with that. I just kind of curious what the rationale for is, why you feel it necessary to do that now. That it's something that's,
It's something we always have someone under contract for our use. It's as needed. It's not.
okay. So it's something that you've had in the past and just.
Oh, yeah, we've always had one, and every so many years you re-evaluate and put it out RFP, which is
Okay.
request for proposal, and every jurisdiction has one financial advisor because we're not big enough to have our own internal, and it's objective, but yeah.
Okay, good to know.
But yeah, pretty standard, but good question.
Okay.
Appreciate you being aware of those things. Yes. Thank you. Dave, come on up. We called you first thing, but you were not here.
I was bending the ear
That's all right. Welcome back.
of Andy Hoke outside first. So during I have two issues. So let me address the first.
You put the microphone up so we can hear you.
The first is more of a question and a concern. As Lee and I attended my name's David Berry and Lee Berry in the back. We live at 2295 East Rita Way. And so the second issue I'll be addressing will be the dotted line for the Little Cottonwood Canyon Trail, because we live right on that. But the first issue is more of a citywide issue. And that is, as we attended the meetings last week at Butler Middle School,
Oh, UDOT meeting, yeah.
the UDOT meetings, as far as I know, no one from Cottonwood Heights, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is on the committee as a stakeholder. Is anyone in Cottonwood Heights on the stakeholder planning committee at
I'm
all? And I don't think that is when we looked at the list.
not
And-
sure. I mean, we're heavily involved.
But
As a
we're
city.
not on that committee that's talking about it. If there's any way someone from Cottonwood Heights can get on the committee, it just seems imperative.
There's no question that we need to be involved in, and we'll give you a response because we're actively involved. It's one of our higher priorities, not just as a city, but myself as a member of the Central Wasatch Commission, our planning staff, our Wasatch Board Master Plan. Yeah. And we met with Josh tonight with UDOT, meeting with him again next Monday. So yeah, and of course the director of UDOT lives as a resident, so we have that here. Yeah, but you're right. We need to be actively involved. Yes.
And it seems like Cottonwood Heights is really being treated as just a transportation pass-through, no real concern that we actually live here. And I understand that many of these roads are state roads, but we're being treated as get out of my way. You're now a pass-through city. And I think we should be doing everything possible as a city to make it a good, livable city for the residents. I really don't care about the people in the hotels in downtown Salt Lake City. I mean, I'm not against them. I'm just saying this is our city and it should be designed for us to live in. And I know your background and I know you're concerned about it, Mayor.
We agree with you 100%. Have you read our Wasatch Boulevard Master Plan?
I have, and I'm going to read it again.
Read it again because it really emphasizes what you just said. We do not want a highway. We want a boulevard. We want traffic calming. We want lower speeds. We want a parallel trail system. We want pedestrian sensitivity, all those things. And that's what we will continue to fight for. And this council has gone on record of that being the case. And so keep pushing us. We have till September 3rd. And I'm doing everything I said I wouldn't do tonight, getting into dialogue, but we have a short agenda. But we have till September 3rd to formalize those comments. And we will do that. And glad to share those with you. And we had our first meeting earlier tonight, starting to review those. But conceptually, I think we're right there.
Okay. And if I can continue briefly.
Yeah, I took part of your time. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Tim's going to fire me, but I've only got a few months, so that's all right.
The second issue is just expressing the concern of the dotted line, green line on the Planning Commission map, open space map for Little Cottonwood Creek becoming a trail. And we live on Little Cottonwood Creek. We've lived there since before this was a city. And this is the first we've heard about it. It certainly hasn't been circulated through the neighborhood on either side of the creek. And even to have that dotted line there, we have enough trouble with people walking across our property to get to the creek and just climb down. And that's going to be encouraged even more because people are going to see it's a creek and it's privately owned property. Not only to go across ours to get into the creek bottom itself is privately owned property. Our deck goes within 5 feet of the creek and we're not the only ones. There is no room to put a trail in there and water flows in there. So if someone has the idea they're going to go down that creek and
Build
pipe
the
the
trail.
water underneath and pave a trail on top, that's private property and that's not what we all bought in for. And again, I'm going to our quality of life, and I understand I'm being very selfish here, but we bought the property for that selfish reason. We wanted that privacy. And before those lines go out in public, I think there needs to be some pretty serious discussion, including neighborhood meetings, so that everyone along that creek knows what someone else is trying to draw on the maps.
Good point. And that's why we have a Parks, Trails, Open Space Committee representing those areas, Planning Commission, your public comment, and the person drafting that plan is here to hear those and take that all into consideration. Again, whenever you put in master plans, we realize they're living documents. They're always changing and based upon input. And that's valuable input because private property is something that is your right, not our right. So appreciate your feedback.
Thank you for listening to me tonight.
Good to see you again. And thanks for bringing your better half. Yeah. All right. Anyone else would like to make public comment tonight? All right. Hearing none, I will close the citizen comment period and move to our action item for this evening. And that is something that was mentioned during public comment is a resolution 2021-33. Oh, what did I do? Oh, well, I'm sorry. I forget about we're online. So Robert, you still there? No, Robert's online. He's
still
online.
muted, still
Can
muted.
you hear me?
Yeah, there you are, Robert. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I'm not used to doing double duty here online. So I appreciate Paula.
That's fine. I would have been there in person. I didn't know we could come in person.
Robert, go ahead and make public comment.
Okay, I just want to comment on the
Little Cottonwood EIS. And I didn't really have time to organize all my thoughts, so it's kind of helter-skelter, but I just want to say some of the things. I listened to Josh and I went to the meeting last week. He mentioned
there.
something about the time going from 21 minutes to 84 minutes by 2050. I don't even understand where'd they come up with that number? And then after that, he said the toll they're going to use on the road, they're going to do a toll of $20 to $30 for 2 to 3 hours for 15 days a year. That's kind of weird, I guess. Doesn't make any sense to me.
We heard the same thing for the first time.
And it's, you guys addressed the open lands blocking the East Trail. That didn't make any sense. But just starting to look at stuff, the gondola B option, which is their preferred option, that only serves one beneficiary, snowbird. That's all it's going to be good for. Even Alta, people have to get off the gondola at Snowbird and get on another gondola to go to Alta. So Snowbird is the real beneficiary of that. The way they're talking about it, they're going to move 1,000 people up the hill on the gondola. A gondola every 2 minutes with 35 people. There's 2 minutes to load 35 people on a gondola. They must have a lot of people packing them in. That's crazy. A bus, 12 buses will carry the same number of people. And when the bus goes, it goes to the resort. There's no having to get off at Snowbird and then go to Alta. The Alta bus goes to Alta. The Snowbird bus goes to Snowbird. It's way quicker than the gondola. And on top of that, the buses give you so much more flexibility than the gondola. Once the gondola's there, that's it. They're not going to be able to do twice as many gondolas if they need to. We can do twice as many buses or 3 times as many buses if we need to. And we can load them all at the same time if we want to. The buses and on top of that, when it's not ski season, the buses can stop at the trailheads and other people can enjoy the canyon and the benefits of public transportation. When you go up there during the summer, you can't find a place to park at the trailhead. You can't solve that with a gondola. The other one, the one they're proposing, well, in addition to buses, of course, you get all the benefits of all the enhancement to buses. Like they're already electric buses. I have an electric vehicle. I can drive up there with 4 people up to Alta and back for 50 cents in electricity. That's 4 people for 50 cents. Am I going to get on a gondola or take a bus when I can drive that cheap? They should start looking at electric buses going up there because there's plenty of people doing it. You can even charge the bus while it's on the road if you want to do that. And who knows, 10, 20, 30 years from now, how much better all that stuff's going to be. The gondola is going to be the same. The other thing they're talking about, if you're going to do a gondola, the first gondola idea was fine. It was at the trailhead, no parking. Now they're talking about putting a gondola at Lakai with 1,500 stalls. I thought we're trying to get cars off the road. The other people are still going to be driving up there. They didn't reduce any of that traffic, but they're adding 1,500 more cars to Wasatch Boulevard or 209. It's crazy. And on top of that, how are the people going to get to 1,500 stalls on these when traffic is backed up on Wasatch Boulevard? How are they going to get their cars to there to park? I don't know. All the gondola. The only thing about the other gondola is if there were bus lanes, buses could get past the traffic that's backed up to the gondola, drop the people off, and they could take the gondola up. That is somewhat reasonable, at least. The Lakai gondola is just crazy. Doesn't make any sense at all, no matter how I look at it. I guess that was pretty much what I had to say.
Thank you, Robert.
The other thing I would say is, instead of doing all this stuff, like they're talking about $500 million, let's say $1 billion in reasonable, in a gondola that they don't even know if it'll work. They don't even know if people get out of their cars. That they just drove their car all the way to the mouth of the canyon. And you're telling me they're going to get out of their car, park it there, and take a gondola the rest of the way up? What's going to make them do that? They ought to start out with phasing in tolls to see if they can get people to take buses. They can't even get people to take buses now that are free for season pass holders, but they can't get people to go up there on the free buses. How are they going to get people out of their cars onto a gondola? Whatever magical way they're going to do that, they could just as easily do it for buses, and the buses are a much better investment.
All right, thank you, Robert. Appreciate your comments. And just one piece of feedback for you. We'll take note of this, and we'll be meeting as a council to take a position on this. But also for your information, because I know you're passionate about this, we'll also be looking at ADU ordinance coming up, and you'll want to look at that later too. So stay in touch with us. Thank you. Paula, anyone else would like to make comments? All right, thank you for everybody's patience. Again, moving back to the action items, we have a resolution 2021-33 approving entry into an agreement with Zion's Public Finance for financial advisors services. This is something that's standard in our cities to always have, like any city, having a financial advisor on contract for various public finance issues, which are many. So is Scott going to introduce that, or are you going to introduce that, Tim?
Scott is here online, but I'm happy to do that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. As I mentioned in the work session, we went through a request for proposals process for a municipal financial advisor. This is a consultant that will help us with any needs that we have related to bonding, debt structure analysis, debt issuance, and a variety of other things related to our finances. Most cities have these entities as consultants. And so we went through that process in March. A committee was formed that went through criteria and evaluated the proposals, and a selection was made for this. We have a contract that's in your packet. We are recommending approval of it with Zion's Finance to be our municipal financial advisor. Happy to answer any questions.
Again, we discussed this in our work session. It's been a process over a couple months getting this selection processed. Any questions, comments from the council?
I would just encourage us to push a little harder for more applicants. I know we only had a couple to choose from, so maybe on the next round we could push harder.
Yep.
More well-known.
Well, we reach out. I mean, we have to get proposals in, so that's what happens. We do the noticing requirements on the RFP processes and do all that we can to get entities to address this. So
A good suggestion. The more the merrier, and so to speak, and when we get RFPs. Any further comments, questions? Again, for the city, this is a change from what we've had historically. This is a new financial advisor, so sometimes change and a fresh view is always healthy, even though I appreciated our past financial advisors well, and I thought they served us well. All right. Hearing no further question, I entertain a motion.
I move that we approve resolution 2021-33.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Been seconded by Councilmember Peterson. Any further comments, questions? I'll call for the vote. Councilmember Michael,
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce.
Yes.
Mr. Bracken is excused. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. That's the only formal action item, other than we do have a consent calendar for approval of council work session and business meeting minutes for July 6th, 2021. Any questions on those minutes? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion for adoption of the consent calendar.
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Bruce. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilmember Peterson. Now call for the vote. Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Bruce.
Yes.
Councilmember Michael,
Yes.
and I will vote yes. Okay, it's a short meeting tonight. That's all of our business. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn, Mayor.
It's been moved that we adjourn.
Second that?
Moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Safe travels, Christine, and see you later. And thank you, everyone, for your